Good morning, everyone. I hope your long holiday weekend was enjoyable and restful, and you're back at it. And thanks for joining this morning. Again, my name is John Heerdink. I'm the managing member of Tribe Public. You've joined the Tribe Public CEO presentation and Q&A event today, titled "Positive Impact of Agentic AGI, Artificial General Intelligence." Couldn't be more topical than that, I don't think, these days, and for well in the future. Our co-host is Chet White. He's the managing GP of Griffin Advisors and the PM of Helios Alpha. As many of you know, again, I am the managing member of Tribe Public. Our website is tribepublic.com. That's TRIBE public, PUBLIC.com. And we've had members from 31 plus countries and all 50 states that have joined Tribe Public freely to gain direct corporate access to leaders and experts that they care about. Members, furthermore, are requested to submit names 24/7, 365 via our wish list process at our website, where it's just simply adding names of the CEOs and or companies or experts that you want to meet. And if we can gain enough interest from the tribe across these countries, across the world, across these states, we can organize webinar events like this, and or as we do also host across 36 event sites in the US, live in-person events, typically over a private luncheon or dinner with these experts and your local tribe. Thanks again for participating. I also have to note that I am a managing director of Vista Partners LLC, which is a California investment advisor, registered investment advisor, based in San Francisco. Our website is vistapglobal.com, VISTAPglobal.com. And note that I'm advisor to Griffin Advisors, which is Chet White's LLC here today, and Helios Alpha. Please take a look at my disclaimers at both Tribe Public and at Vista P Global. And thank you for, again, your attention today. Again, today's co-host is Chet White, managing GP of Griffin Advisors and PM of Helios Alpha. Mr. White has 35 years of investment management and financial advisor experience investing in and advising emerging growth technology companies. Griffin Advisors, website Griffin Advisors LLC, firmly believes that a sustainable future lies in harnessing the potential of green tech, artificial intelligence, med tech, and enabling tech. The Helios Alpha Fund excels in generating superior risk-adjusted returns by strategically investing in companies that exhibit breakthrough innovation. I'd also like to thank you again for participating and remind you that if questions arise throughout the presentation, to please submit them through the Zoom chat feature, and thank those that have already sent in questions that we'll try to get addressed on this approximately 30-minute webinar event today. And also note that after this, we'll do our best to get this event video published at the Tribe Public YouTube channel as soon as possible, and then connect everyone through the Tribe This Week, which is our e-newsletter that goes out every Friday, and we'll add it there too if you've missed it to review. Now let's get started. Chet, if you wouldn't mind, just quickly give us a little bit of background about yourself, and then get right into your presentation, which is sure to be enlightening.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, John, for having me, and thanks all of you for attending. Hopefully we'll give some intriguing, thought-provocative ideas to everybody that we believe is with the new introduction of agentic AI and really being on the cusp of AGI, or artificial general intelligence, what drove a true leader in the field, Sam Altman, and others like him, really did to make statements like nobody is ready for this. And so with that said, I can at least give you some perspective on how we see it from our fund's perspective, and opportunities that we're taking advantage of. But I think more broadly, how it impacts not just investment opportunities, but how it impacts some global opportunities. It's a shift in which we've never seen in the 35 years of tech investing that I've done. It's going at a pace which is faster than some of the bigger transitions we've seen, like the internet, and it's doing something that is a little bit broader and deeper. So I'll go into some of the opportunities, but there are some fantastic positive things that are going to come out of the efficiency of AI, and since really driving some exciting change. So we'll identify those and walk through them. But as John mentioned, I run a fund. I've done this fund management for about 15 years with Helios Alpha Fund. But prior to that, I've worked in the investment field for 20 years before that. So I've been through quite a few cycles, and I would just bring this particular cycle to your attention that it is going faster with more capital and more impact than anything that we really have seen in the past 30, 35 years. So it's a material transition and really quite an exciting one. Where do we feel that the opportunities lie in the current state of AI? Because we really went through an exciting past 2 years. That was really, it was embraced by the largest AI companies in the world, the Googles, the Metas, the NVIDIAs, and so on. We'll call that the Magnificent Seven, but we're now pushing into the next layer up, the application layer. And that application layer is going to be what's exciting in the coming 2 or 3 years. So we'll go into the structural changes that made that possible. But you're getting into things like green tech and climate. Med tech is going to be at the forefront, probably the most exciting space. And robotics, right? So autonomy and robotics, that's another great sector we'll talk a little bit about, where there's going to be very powerful impact from some of the automation and intelligent advancement that AGI is bringing, but also agentic AI. So I'll first, if I can, really define these so everybody has a handle on what they mean and what's the underlying technology, where is it that is making some real big breakthroughs just in the last month or two. All right, so we all are referencing OpenAI, but of course that is not the only foundational model in the world, but Sam Altman's really led the charge. But you have many foundational models like Elon Musk's Grok came out today, Google's Gemini, and many others. But basically, the big transition is we're looking to a point where these systems can perform at a PhD level task at any zone, whether it's medicine, robotics, or any complex environment. And that is something where you saw, in particular, the most recent OpenAI model, the O1 model came out, and now the O3 model and things like XAI's Grok. These really can perform at those levels because they added another layer of cognition in their equation. So it wasn't a linear question into a model with an answer. It became a thinking model which iterated. And that was a massive transition. And that shows up both in kind of the O1 model, the O3 model types of architectures, but it also shows up in the agentic architecture. So that has been the foundational and fundamental breakthrough, which will take us into autonomy, and it really takes us into and accelerates things like robotics. And so specifically, that's what's meant by AGI. How can these systems perform a task at a PhD level or really a broader human cognition level? And so fundamentally, that's what's underneath them. What are the things that what are things that Sam says nobody is ready for? And underneath this in the end result, really, because that's kind of how we measure it in our daily lives, and we're looking for companies that can flourish in this environment. You're having some bigger issues come about, like decreasing labor costs and shifting employment. Right, and we'll go through some of those opportunities where we have, like in medicine, a great shortage of skilled workforce. And this is a real blessing for that. Medical breakthroughs, extending lifespans. You're coming out with some innovative new medical technologies, some innovative new energy technologies where you can have energy supply become quote unquote limitless. But with that said, it can become more abundant at a more cost-effective price and with less carbon. And innovation is really something that is already noticeably changed in terms of the pace of innovation in the past 2 years, because you have a baseline where the people managing the AI queries, which is not just the general populace, but some of our best scientists, come out at a 98% knowledge base to begin, but they really can go after a subject, whether it's a new molecule for a pharma company or a biotech company, or a new material for a battery company. They could really come at it with a higher level and a broader knowledge base than ever, and that accelerates faster and faster. And we'll go into some of those advantages, but you can imagine those factors in our current economy really have to be adjusted for by all the global economies and by others. So the other major transition versus just the foundational models move to more of a iterative process is the agentic transition. And this is one in which we'll go through structurally, but NVIDIA actually just came out with a great blueprint for Agentic AI. And what that does is it enables you to have an operating system which also iterates with a mission and an agenda in mind. So you're doing multi-step problem solving. You're doing recursive, iterative self-improvement. You can have an autonomous goal setting, which then requires maybe some guardrails, but within those guardrails, you can have some autonomy and some real contextual thinking, not just a straight single shot, but across a multi-shot environment where you're really having the system advance the accuracy materially. So this system, which I have at least a picture of, the NVIDIA Agentic Blueprint, really does bring in a few factors to understand this. You can have any type of operating environment with a mission in mind, whether it's a call center mission to give great customer service, or it's a very complex system like a medical environment where you're having some material given to a doctor or nurse that is reviewed previously. And the exciting piece of this is that it's not just iterative, but it enables a smaller data set and multiple data sets to be used, which can be more accurate. It enables the optimal model to be chosen against that mission and that data set. And it brings it back to a supervisor agent, as you can see in the center, to orchestrate these different thoughts and ideas and iterate to continually improve the precision of the outcomes. So when you get into autonomy and you get into medicine, for example, you have a very high standard of performance, and you've seen these models begin to perform that 90% plus level. And that is a level in which they really do begin to outperform even your specialist PhD in each segment. So this just came out in at the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, in January of this year. So this is the thing, the breaking thing, and what it means is that you're going to see greater accuracy across the board and really have the chance to turn tools across the enterprise into very productive tools. With the AGI and the agentic architecture comes some challenges, right? So this doesn't, and by challenge, I mean, it's not negative. It just means that it's shifting where the value from the companies and the individuals using these systems can add value, right? So if the broader world needs to add value on top of these relatively, we'll call it 90+% accurate systems, that is the spot. We'll call it AI plus, right? So that is the spot for humans to kind of continue to add value, begin to manage these systems. But with this in mind and the recognition of the true broad value, there's a real energy problem. Just to give you an idea, when the agentic architecture came out from NVIDIA, which we just reviewed, it does it kind of doubled the expectation of energy demand from the AI data centers, up from 1.5%, which was consistent over 20 years, to about 20% by the end of 2030. So there's some challenges and opportunities in that issue to make sure it's something that we can even supply the energy, because that's a big bottleneck right now just to get energy to these data centers, let alone hopefully green energy, right? So we'll talk about that. As we say, economic imbalance is a way you can look at it. It's kind of opportunity as well. You're going to find great productivity gains. That's an absolute win for so many sectors. And so many sectors like medicine have a big shortage of doctors and nurses, for example, right? So this is something that can really relieve a lot of stress in that ecosystem. And of course, this cannot be done without guardrails. This is where Jeffrey Hinton made a important commitment to try to get some good guardrails around this in the sensitive areas, not just about medicine, but good guardrails in terms of security, good guardrails in terms of personal data protection. So all of this really is so large, it must be done by the computer systems themselves, and it has to be embedded deeply into these systems. And so I think you're going to see a very nice integration with those, but they cannot be done by pure mandate of policy. They really have to be embedded in the software systems themselves. So, and I'll leave you with the bigger question. With many of us, like myself with 5 kids, you really have to ask, what should our kids do? How should they prepare for the jobs of tomorrow? And if you listen to smart guys like Jensen Huang, teach the kids how to use AI systems and really figure out what the value add is beyond that system that knows 98% of everything. And that's a lot of creativity and a lot of strategic thinking. So I'll leave you with that concept. You want to go over just a few subject areas that are exciting to us at the fund management level. We're passionate about climate, and we do believe that the potential of AI to add value in that space is incredible. Not only can you use these new systems to advance work that was very scientific in the analog world of yesterday, reviewing new materials, reviewing new molecules for things like battery storage, reviewing new architectures for things like fusion and fission energy, or new synthetic fuels, new clean tech materials, is a great opportunity of discovery, which is now happening at about 10 times the speed that it was. So from climate and modeling to weather prediction, there is a real opportunity to bring energy, cheap green energy, to the world. And AI is definitely part of that solution. I think you'd find people like Eric Schmidt over at Google absolutely agreeing that it's actually causing a massive energy demand. At the same time, it's really concluding to drive a energy solution fast. And one of the best opportunities we believe in the near term is energy, compute, and grid management optimization. That's one of the companies that we are involved with, as a private company called Pebble. And as I mentioned, the really big opportunity is not just to do compute and energy efficiency optimization and reduction for carbon and water use for these data centers, but you can really go after that 20% that they may be using and drive it back down to 15. And that's something that's happening in real time every day. So there's a massive cost savings opportunity. And when you save cost, and you save cost in compute, you save cost in energy, you save cost in water and carbon. So all of these things are a here and now item. They're not kind of a longer term secular item like fusion and fission. Although clearly fusion and fission have become part of the discussion. So that's a big opportunity that can offer, and I'll just put it out there that everybody might have heard of DeepSeek over the past month. Their energy savings, cost and compute savings were up to 95%, which kind of startled the world. But it shows you that this spend on data centers, the spend on AI for these foundational big 7 companies and globally, has been enormous. It's been faster than we've ever seen. It's driving innovation at a really rapid pace beyond what we've ever seen. And that has left a window of opportunity open to optimize. So, and DeepSeek did just that. They built a system that really had great optimization characteristics in it. And with about $5 million, they built something that took OpenAI 100 million, DeepSeek from Google 300 million to build. So there is a great opportunity to optimize and save compute and energy cost. What are these systems used to optimize and who do they partner with? Somebody like a Pebble has partnered with Google and their agentic system to really begin to add a sustainability quotient to that agentic blueprint. And they partner up with Google, which I would put your eye towards Google's efforts in a new thing that they've coined in the last couple months called energy-aware compute. So it really is a nice holistic approach to optimizing these data centers and making sure that there's enough energy, hopefully cheap green energy is the mission for Pebble, and I think NVIDIA and Google, to really deliver on the potential of agentic AI. So you'll hear quite a bit more about that, which goes down the optimization journey. This second big area that I'd like to mention is software engineering. You're seeing in real time right now a very fast, probably one of the even faster than OpenAI. OpenAI was one of the fastest growing software tech companies that we've seen in history. It happened in under a year. And you've seen now a few other companies grow from 1 million to 100 million in revenue in under a year as well in the software engineering space to automate software engineering. Because remember, AI really looks at software engineering just like another language, right? So there's whether it's Python or some of the other languages, it is really getting it's where somebody doesn't even have to know how to code and they could truly build a software-based solution quite quickly by just managing some of the better and more software-oriented foundational models and querying them properly with the proper structure. So you'll find that this is an area within the next 2 or 3 years, the software companies of the world are going to be running 80-90% of their software development with really foundational AI systems and architects on top of them. The other area, which actually was a big theme of NVIDIA at the CES, was robotics and autonomy. So particularly the new multi-agent system, the agentic architecture, is particularly well suited to use in personal robotics. We've been waiting for this evolution for 20, 30 years, as you all know, from the Ramba, which was the original vacuum, I think, and that to now really sophisticated agents and robotic, basically personal robots coming out. They're going to be coming out very fast. And you're going to see this driven off of a new agentic module that can be downloaded to these robotic systems, not just surgery robotics like Intuitive Surgical, but true personal robots and true corporate robots. So very different. And underneath that is that agentic architecture. Healthcare, I left for last because it is our favorite space. In that it has a massive amount of inefficiency, particularly in the United States. It is really, really in need of some basic automation, not just this more sophisticated AI, but true just basic enterprise automation that's been around for about 20 years. And AI has really opened everybody's eyes that this is now time to change healthcare. And so what you're seeing now for the first time is some of these barriers and some of these moats that have been bureaucratically kind of wrapped up between FDA, HIPAA, and so on, very slow CPT code and reimbursement architecture. They have begun to open up and all the way through to the back end, with EMRs and systems that have been relative duopolies, like some of the EMR environments. So The thing that brought everybody's attention, of course, was OpenAI in its broader use, but now you're going to go through a transition where it's not just book smarts with the LLMs replicating an MCAT exam, like an LSAT for a lawyer, like the MCAT for medical, at a 98% accuracy. This is what the score was for the ChatGPT models using LLMs, but you're going to go through a transition where you're getting into a real multimodal, complex environment to enable accuracy in the real world of medicine, which is not just a book smart doctor. It is a doctor who's truly observing all the elements of a patient's complex environment. So we're quite excited about that to begin to streamline and help these doctors who are really overburdened, as well as nurses, begin to bring their intelligence and their service down to a better price point, and really move it forward and compress the delivery from maybe it'd be a 3-month to 6-month journey to talk to the right specialist. You can bring that specialist right to the front line, and you can really bring them at 1/100th of the cost, right? The current cardiologist is about $8,000 per minute. If you can bring that intelligent system up front, you can get that down to $50 a minute, 1/100th or less. So we find that to be particularly powerful in the area, and I think you see that it was the #1 venture-backed area in the area that is really in dire need of effective change and optimization and automation. So just a quick note on those were the two private companies, Iteratives, that we are doing in medicine and investing in, and Pebble, which is more in the climate space, but talk about the public market opportunities, which this group generally looks at. What are we doing in the fund? Well, the fund itself, our fund provides primary growth capital, and we do pretty well. We generally get a discount to the market doing a primary private placement. We use structured investments, but also we run a public market side of our fund as well. And I just want to talk to some of the things that we've been excited about, particularly as the AI trend has gotten a bit expensive for the big, 7 AI companies. Is there anything else that's still cost effective? And that's where we do look towards healthcare as one of our favorite sectors in green tech. Both came off big bubbles in about 3 years ago because of COVID and healthcare, and on the electric side, the EV side, and the transportation green tech side, there was a lot of funding that came out of the government, and that squeezed back down. So that presents great opportunity where things like the big 7 AI companies are at 5-year highs. The healthcare sector in particular is at 5-year lows. And so here's just an example of an ETF that's out there. It's basically EDOC, and it was at a peak of $25. It hit a low of about $9, and it's still sitting around $12, as a good example of what's available in the public markets to take advantage of this trend. And most of these companies, 90%, have some type of AI program. Our biggest position in the fund was Nutex, which is a simple company that does small hospitals and have a great service. And they were at a peak of around $1,500. The low was $5. And they became our largest position at the end of last year throughout the fall. And they turned the corner where their revenue started growing again. They hit EBITDA positive. They had some billing changes that turned around positively as well. And they went up from $5 to $60 in the last 3 or 4 months. So that's a good example of what are there things out there that are still, at a value, and we're kind of a GARP, growth at a price shop. But it's not just companies like Nutex. You can take the biggest service provider for remote care in the sector, like Teladoc. Their peak was, $360. They're still down at $14, right? So quite near their 5-year low. The same with Amwell, for example. Google allocated $100 million into them. Their peak, as you can see from the chart, was about 800. They're sitting at 12. Another good example. And on the smaller side, You have something like a Biotricity. They were at a peak of $26 and they're now at 43 cents. And so the point is these charts all look the same. Each and every one of them have strong AI in them. You know, Teladoc started a program in July of 23 with Microsoft, with OpenAI. They're no foreigner to implementing AI throughout their business. Amwell got the money from Google, one of the biggest AI players in the world, in August of 24. And actually, Biotricity in 2021 got one of the first AI clouds approved for their cardiac cloud. So all of these companies, if you're wondering, is AI coming into play? Absolutely. This is a good example. And are there some values to buy? And alternatively, where are we trimming down? We're generally trimming down a little bit out of some of the things that have gotten to a peak, like we'll call it the top 7 AI companies. They call them the Magnificent Seven, is a good space in which, you know, maybe take a little bit out of those and move it over to AI healthcare. You know, we actually started our journey with NVIDIA back in 2016 when they were at around $2. And at that time, though, it was not rocket science to figure out that they were going to be a player in AI. They had 7,000 patents at that time. So it was pretty clear that's the opportunities that we look for. We try to be on the early side and we try to get a decent price for great companies. So that's, you know, what we're doing in our fund. I'm happy to answer any questions that we may have about the general agentic and AGI opportunity. John, if there's anything that the viewers have requested, I'm happy to discuss.
Yeah, thank you. And again, a remind, if anybody does have any questions that they haven't already expressed, you can just send it quickly through the Zoom chat feature, and we'll do our best to efficiently answer that today, or at least have Chet do so. Here's one of the questions. How long can this AI cycle take us? Is there more room to go, in a sense?
Yeah, I would just say, give you that perspective of the difference between this and, for example, the internet bubble, which did go up, it got toppy, and then it kind of faded down. And there was the classic cycle that you see out of new technologies that are very powerful. This one's a little bit different because we truly do have an opportunity that is not just going to go in the digital world, but it's going to go into the analog world. And that is meaning that this intelligent system will go into things like robotics. And that gives this cycle a bit more time to go. And I would say, it's hard to say, are we a third of the way there, halfway there? But this is not the last inning of AI. It is really in that first cycle, and it's just beginning to touch that autonomous world. So there's a good deal of room and opportunity to continue to innovate.
Thank you, Chad. Here's one that's sort of related to that just came in. It says, what are 1 to 3 main points you could think about that you think we can do better to manage risk and inept policymakers by educating them to place reasonable guardrails while balancing national interests with individual enterprise privacy, security, and innovation? I don't know if that's one you want to tackle today, but that's
But no, I mean, I have to say there's a solid answer and an important answer in that. It's an important question. Basically, the opportunity to put some guardrails in, as I mentioned, not only has to be done at a policy level, but to make it keep pace with these systems, it has to really be embedded as software guardrails in the systems. And this is going to be critical for things like medical, which is making a life-death decision and diagnosis. It's going to be critical for things like autonomy, right? With drones in the world today, they're significant. They're sometimes military assets. And these things must be not just considered and put in for policy, but really embedded as the software part of the guardrail equation in these systems. So definitely a key priority to get developed on and stated early and get really turned into a fabric of what these systems are doing.
Got it. Thank you, Chad. The next question is, how can I take advantage of the AI opportunity that seems to be controlled by the big AI companies? I think you touched a little bit on this, but can you maybe elaborate?
Sure, and I would think this is a very broad way to look at it. Those companies built the foundational models, the true infrastructure of those models, and now we're going to, we'll call it the application time, where how are these new systems, these great foundational and very accurate foundational models getting used and applied? So I would say that's where I kind of look towards places like healthcare, which have really a strong need, just not only for operational and cost savings, but they have a strong need for and savings and really leveraging the doctors, the limited doctors and nurses, the great doctors and nurses that we have. So just I would think more application layer in the going 2 to 3 years, optimization applications and true robotic applications, healthcare applications, climate green tech applications are the space to look for new opportunities.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned, there's, I guess, related to that is that obviously your fund is open for new investors, Helios, and at the same time, you mentioned a couple companies, Pebble and Ioterix, one in Pebble being in the energy space and Ioterix in the healthcare space. And it's my understanding is that you're conducting an A round for both of those companies. Is that something that someone could inquire about? I know the VC community has been looking at these. What would you say to anybody that's interested in either?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the fund perspective, obviously we have a diversified portfolio approach to incorporating those into the crossover fund. But just in the last couple of weeks, we opened up the A round for both companies, and we're introducing those companies to the venture community. For the ones doing a $10 million round, and the other 15 million Pebble, Iterex is at 10. If there isn't interest in those, certainly reach out to myself or John, and we can get you to the appropriate material to take a look at what they're doing. But we are getting strong strategic interest from both, in both of those, from the medical sector and from the data center and the AI cloud ecosystem investors. So again, eager to field any questions for further information on those.
So are all of these investments open to beyond the VC community? And is there a scope and size that, minimum to large sort of investing in this? How would you guide people?
Yeah, Bill, beyond the VC community, there's an opportunity for accredited investors. And so that is definitely something that is a mandatory threshold for all the private investments. And generally, we find that the institutions are kind of in the $1 to $5 million bite size. The accredited investors come in, and usually a $50,000 to $250,000 bite size would be normal. Some are obviously a little bit larger, but that's very much so something that the companies are accepting. But again, they need to go through their diligence and make sure it's appropriate for themselves, and certainly fall in with the either institutional or the accredited investor guidelines.
Okay, got it. And lastly here, the question is, how is Helios Alpha, your fund, better than just investing in a medtech ETF like EDOC that you pointed out? What, in your opinion, what would you say to that question?
Sure. So in general, how Helios is a bit different is that we offer primary growth capital to our companies. That generally gets a few benefits. It not only strengthens the company's balance sheet, which is always helpful, and so they can have some growth capital, but it also generally uses structured investment, which has either a preferred or convert that has usually an asymmetrical type of return architecture to it. And if you offer primary capital, just like an IPO or a secondary, generally comes at a decent discount, right? Whether it's 30%, 40%, or something like that. So that does really give the fund an opportunity to do a little bit better than just buying the open market. Although, as you can see with Nutex, that was just a plain open market purchase, and the result was quite good. So again, I showed you some of these things that we're doing. I can't say they're appropriate for all the investors on this viewing, but sometimes then the ETF answer is a great answer for an individual.
Well, I just noticed the time has kind of run. We've exceeded our approximate 30-minute guide here that we've given everyone. what I'd suggest here, Chet, is, and to all that are on here and all that watch the video, again, if you have a if you have interest in this, I can get you pointed towards Chet White and his group in regards to the fund and documentation for that, and how you might invest in that or look to learn more about it. At the same time, Chet White is also, mentioned Pebble and Ioterix. Both of these companies have presented on the tribe in different ways, one in person, one via a webinar a couple weeks ago. If you have further interest in learning more about them, we could look to compel Chet White and these other two company leaders to get out to see you in in-person events. We do hope to also get Ioterix on a webinar soon, so you can learn more about it directly as well. But just let us know, and if we can get them out to a tribe city near you across the current 36 venues, or if you have another group of area of the country, US, that we can get them out to let us know. Again, sorry if we didn't get all questions answered today, but I really appreciate you, Chet White, and Griffin and Helios and all the tribe that have come in here today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to have our next event. And Chet, look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, John, and thank all of you for joining.